Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual. And obviously, welcome back to the show. Today is a Friday episode. I know you guys love these episodes. And, obviously, it's episode 68 of the show. I know I keep counting down, but it's also a good way to remember. But 68 episodes of this show is crazy. But aside from that, today's episode is going to be over Pokemon Sword and Shield. And this one is a very interesting one. It's obviously a more relaxed conversation because a lot of the stuff about Sword and Shield has already been shown off. It's already been leaked. And I will say this now. I am not going over the leaks. I'm not, because there's some people out there that don't want to be spoiled, and I'm not spoiling anything for them. So I'm not going to talk about the leaks. I'll acknowledge that they exist, but I won't actually go into detail of like what was shown, what to expect. And yeah. So Pokemon Sword and Shield, why is this being its own topic? Because I know we did an episode a while back with Gilberto with the state of Pokemon, and we brought it up because we're almost near the launch date of Sword and Shield. Like, the day of recording when this episode goes live is going to be November 8th, and the game comes out November 15th. That is very incredible. I think, based on the calendar, when this episode goes live, next week is when the game goes live. And it's crazy because it's like we are about to have our first home console Pokemon game. And that's what makes this really special and big, especially because this is the 8th generation of Pokemon. There has been 8 generations of Pokemon, Gen 1 all the way to now, which Sword and Shield, obviously one of the big step ups. Granted, we'll talk a little bit about some things about that. But yes, it is the first time a Pokemon game has been on a home console. The first time that it is not on a DS, but it's now on a home console. And it's a very big step. The Pokemon Company has been wanting to do this for a long time. People have been begging them to do it. And, now we're getting. And so Sword and Shield, obviously 8th generation Pokemon. What do we expect? There's a good amount of new Pokemon with new legendaries. Obviously, there's going to be new mechanics in the game, because why not? Obviously at the cost of some. But overall, my impressions of the game, because I haven't played it, but my overall impression so far from what I've seen and what I've heard, I'm excited. I will go on the record right now. I will buy this game. I'm going to buy Sword and Shield when it comes out, regardless. And even though, yes, I will say this now, there are some gripes I have with it, because I still don't believe this game is perfect. Like, there are some flaws, and depending on the type of person you are, and, especially because it's a Pokemon game. People love Pokemon. Like, Pokemon is, we talked about it, it's really big. Nintendo generates a ton of money from Pokemon. Like, it is absurd on how much money they generate from this sucker. And it's crazy because Pokemon is incredibly popular. It is, especially the home games. I remember people, when they had their Game Boys, they would buy the original games, and then when we got to the DS games with Diamond and Pearl, and then 3DS games and X and Y, like, it's such a crazy thing because people go crazy when it's a launch of a Pokemon game. It's so crazy, and everyone's excited. Like, granted, there are some drawbacks, but we'll get into them. So, what am I most excited about? Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think that's the easiest way to ease into the conversation is, what am I excited about? And I think besides it being on a home console, I like the idea that what they're doing. Obviously, yes, a new region. Like, I like some of the mechanics like Gigamax and, Dynamax. Like, I love those ideas. I think they're really cool. I still don't know how it's going to play out competitively, which I'll talk about that because I have a good amount of opinions on that. But to me, I like what they're doing. I like the new legendaries. They look awesome. The starters, they're pretty cool. Now, granted, one of the leaks goes more into detail about them, but I'm not going to talk about that. But overall, my impression is that the games look good. Obviously, yes, they're basically just Pokemon in HD. So, obviously, a lot of people make jokes that they're like, oh, this is just a 3DS game, just put in HD. And maybe, but I think they did put a good amount of time and effort because there's a lot of creativity going on. And, we still don't know how the story is yet. We still don't know anything about the story. Well, I'd say that now, and there's probably a leak for it, but I'm not going to say anything. But one thing I do want to touch on, and like I said, we were going to acknowledge the leaks. We're not going to go over them. But there are drawbacks with Sword and Shield, and the leaks kind of show it, which specifically is the Pokedex. The fact that the Pokedex is so limited and that we know what the whole dex looks like, a lot of people are pissed. And I agree, because I'm kind of pissed about it too. And because a lot of my favorite Pokemon got cut. And I'm not going to say which exactly got cut. If you really want to know, you can go look up the leaks of the full Pokedex and, see what got cut. But it's like in general, I think based on one of the leaks, they said like the Pokedex, the starting dex is going to be like around 400 something. And then it, in theory, like based on something in endgame, it should go up to 600. But over 500 plus Pokemon were cut out of the game. And that's jarring. That's a lot. And it is really bad. Like, to me, that really irks me the most, because it's like the fact that you cut out literally half of all the Pokemon in the game, like half of all the Pokemon ever created, is really jarring. The fact that they went and did that. And like I said before, it's not that hard for them to just get all the Pokemon, because like I said, they did it on the 3DS. They did it on the 3DS, where they had every single Pokemon from every region in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Oh, Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They had every Pokemon. Every Pokemon was there. You can transfer them, no issue. And the fact that they decided the first home console game is not going to have all of them is really bad. Now, granted, there are a good amount of new Pokemon, and if you've seen the leaks and everything like that, I like a lot of the designs. A lot of the designs of the Pokemon look amazing. Like, there's not a single bad one in there. Well, maybe. There's probably like one, but I can't talk about it. But it's a lot of good designs. And they overdid them. Like, they outdid themselves, like, on how good these Pokemon look. And now the granted is, I care about how good the stats are. That's what I care about. But we'll talk. We're going to get to that, because I know everybody's itching for me to talk about competitive, because I have a lot to say about that. But I'm really mad about the Pokedex. The fact that it's that many Pokemon, that it's literally more than half of all the Pokemon created. We're basically wiped. The Thanos snap. It's just like, boy, that's so bad that they did that. And I'm really annoyed at that. Now, granted, I think as time goes on, I'll get over it. But they really need to rectify this. And they really should. I believe they really need to rectify this, because this is not good. The fact that they did this. Like, granted, I know probably after the next main series Pokemon game, they'll probably fix it. Like, or they'll do just another rotation of like different mons, because that's what people want, is they want access to every single Pokemon. But, it's also like, it's kind of what I tell people all the time. And Gilberto, we've talked about it a little bit. And a lot of Poke YouTubers have the same sentiment as well, where specifically like just Pokemon, like, yes, the new Pokemon look amazing, but there's a lot of old Pokemon that people really love, and they just don't want to use anything but those old Pokemon. And I get it. This is probably like a way of getting some people to like get out of their old habits and use new Pokemon, like try them out and like maybe use Pokemon they didn't use before. But I think that's also a double-edged sword, because when we talk about competitive, which I'm going into it now, it makes things really, really, really bad. Like, it screws up so much. And obviously, yes, I'm going to use Smogon, because I know Gilberto's going to get on my grill about that. But yes, OU and Ubers pretty much got gutted. Like, it got gutted really badly. And the fact that Ubers, since all the other, like, we can say it because it's fair, because they even said it, all the old legendaries are not in the game. None of the old legendaries or special Pokemon are in the game. None of them. And it's only the new legends. And that is very depressing. And OU lost a lot, and I mean a lot of its heat. And it's really bad, because they lost so much of their good Pokemon. And I'm really interested to see what they do, because, depending on how the new Pokemon stats are, it will dictate what happens. And it'll dictate what happens. I'm interested because, one, this is where I'm going to start getting back into competitive Pokemon because, as you guys have seen, if you follow me on Snap and Instagram, I've been playing Showdown again to get comfortable with competitive battling again and get used to it because I haven't played Pokemon competitively since Sun and Moon. I bought Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but I never finished it. I just bought it and then, just didn't finish it. And that was the last time I played competitively. And this is just me getting back into the swing of things and start playing competitive Pokemon again. Because this is something I like doing. I love, when X and Y came out, and I really loved playing competitive Pokemon. I really loved it. And then, obviously Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, played competitively there. I played competitively in Soul Silver, and then proceeded into Pokemon White. I had Pokemon White, and then I bought Black, and then I bought Black 2. Yes, I bought Black 2 because I wanted Black Kyurem. And yeah, and then I bought Y because I loved Yveltal more than Xerneas. Darn fairy types. But overall, I haven't played competitive in a while. But obviously, during the time I did, it was very competitive. I went on a lot of live streams playing a lot of competitive Pokemon. I actually beat a YouTuber, a Pokemon streamer on his stream, which is really cool that I actually got the win. And it was doubles, which was really nice that I got the win because nice. I love crits. And yeah, I watched a lot of PokeTubers. I watched a lot of Shady. I watched a lot of Shofu when he still played. Obviously Nexus, and then Hoodlum Scrafty. Obviously another guy that I'm not allowed to name because, he got ousted. But I watched a lot of that guy. And it's been a while. And I still watch Shady from time to time. Like, I watch his content from time to time. Shofu I still watch because Shofu's just a mad lad. He's crazy. I love the dude. He's awesome. But overall for competitive, I am going to be very interested to see what happens, especially because the competitive scene is going to get shaken up because there's a lot of mons that are staples that got removed, and the whole tier system is going to get redone. We know it is. Like, they're going to redo the system because it's crazy. They cut out a lot, guys. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's pretty bad on how much they cut out. Like, I really hope the metagame doesn't go in a direction where it's going to be much slower. I really hope we don't go in that direction because that's what happened in the 7th gen where all the new Pokemon were super slow and they really couldn't compete. And they were good Pokemon. I'm not saying they were bad. It's just they were slow, bro. Like, they were pretty slow and they needed setup. And, like I said, I really hope that the stats of these new Pokemon are great. They look awesome, but I hope and I pray that they are good. Like, we need good mons. Like, we desperately need them. I think another question that's probably helpful is, specifically, like, what do I think about the leaks? I know somebody asked me that question, like, what do I think about the leaks? It's kind of crazy, especially on what the leaks shown, because obviously, yes, they showed the full decks. They showed the starters, evolutions. They showed a lot of the new mons. They showed, like, who's getting a Dynamax. They showed... What else did they show specifically that I'm actually allowed to say? Oh, yes. There was one thing that actually is really nice, and this kind of leads in and helps the competitive scene, because one of the things that were shown was the changes to... I'm trying to remember. It was the changes to EVs and breeding. Those changes are so good. Like, it's absurd on how... I saw this video in the morning, like, recently. I'm not gonna say in the morning, but, like, recently I saw this video where Shofu talked about it and how they changed it and how the EV system... Because if you remember back in the old days in the old Pokemon games, when you had the calciums, PP ups, calciums, protein, like those things, you were only allowed to use 10. And since, obviously with EVs, you have to cap at like 250. I think it's like, it's like 260. I think it's like 260 a piece for each one. And what happened was that you would only use 10. And 10, that obviously 10 by 10 is 100. So you got 100 EVs in that stat. And that's all you could use. And then obviously the rest, you had to go fight a specific horde of Pokemon and, keep battling them because it would raise your EV by a certain amount. And then, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how you would do breeding. And then obviously like getting the right types and things like that. Like, yeah, it was a pain in the butt for a lot of people. This kind of led into the whole argument that people had about hacking mons in and, just like I'll give my stance on that probably like eventually. I'll probably do it in this episode. I'll give my stance on it. But what they did and how they changed it is a really good thing. So what Pokemon did, and this isn't a leak because this was shown off, but what they essentially did was they changed how you can use the calciums, the proteins, like all those specific EV items, and they added a new item for typing. So the new items are called mints, and these mints are the different types in the game. So modest, calm, sturdy, naughty, like, all the different types in the games. And let's say, for example, you have a Gengar. It's a adamant nature Gengar, but you wanted modest or you wanted timid. So you would use one of the timid or the modest mint, and because of that mint, it is going to essentially, the Pokemon's still going to stay adamant, but its stat boost is going to reflect that if it was modest. So essentially, you're changing the type of the Pokemon with a mint. So you don't need to no longer go, breeding unless you want the egg moves, which that's a different thing. But if you just wanted the type, then now you can do it. You can get the nature you want just by giving it a mint because it's going to increase those stats. And it's essentially that adamant Gengar is going to be a modest or a timid, depending on which mint you use. And it's going to have those stats to reflect a modest, even though it's adamant. And that's crazy because that makes things so much easier. And it makes it easier for people to get into competitive Pokemon because you're removing like a big chunk of the grind to basically make it easier. So if you get a Pokemon that you wanted, you got the moves you wanted, you got the eggs moves, but it's not the right type, you just pop them in and boom, it's good. It's perfect. And then what they did with the Eevee stuff is they changed it so now you can actually, instead of using 10, now you can actually just max it out. Now you can. Like, you can pop the full 26 in there and it's done. And that's really big because that means Eevee training is now much easier because basically now, like, obviously everyone that's played a Pokemon game, at the end of the game, you just have so much money that you don't know what to use on. So now you can just go to the place that has the calciums, proteins, and all that stuff and just use them. Just buy a ton of them and then just raise your mons. Like, it's so crazy on how easy they made it. And some people complain that, this takes the hard work out of it. It makes it too easy. Well, no, bro, this takes the grind out of it because it's so annoying. Like, if you want more people to play competitive Pokemon, it makes sense to make it more accessible because, like I said, it's kind of like what I say about the hacking Pokemon. Yes, people have done this for a long time, and it's been a huge discussion where people are like, hacked mons. Hacked mons. Like, it's so annoying because it's like, it does not matter. Everyone's getting the same EVs, the same IVs. Like, you're still going to get the same moves. Like, because obviously hacking, like true hacking is where you put a move. Like, say you had a Donphan and you gave it like Roar of Time or something stupid. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not... That's what hacking is. And to me, like, just putting in, like, just getting your mon that you want with the right stats, the right type, the right nature, maybe shiny with the right ability, maybe those egg moves that you want. Like, there's not really much of a problem. Like, there really isn't. And it's just overblown that people, like, especially like Velicify, like, just made a big vendetta just to hunt down people and say, we should get them banned. Like, they should be banned from Pokemon completely. Like, ban them. And I'm like, it doesn't make a difference because this is a game that relies on you outplaying your opponent. And yes, there obviously is luck involved because of the whole crit mechanic because there's no guaranteed... Well, there's abilities that help increase crit chance and things like that, but that's a whole different thing. But if it's a game that relies so much on luck and, actual skill to outplay your opponent because you have to outread them, you have to predict what they're going to do, like a lot of back and forth. It's like a chess game. And that's where the skill gap is because it's not in getting the right mons with the right nature, getting them with the right moves. That is a small portion. That's the grind. That's not the actual competition. The competition is a battle of minds to see who is going to outplay the other. And I think what Pokemon Sword and Shield are going to do with this mechanic and making the grind much more accessible and getting more people into competitive, I think it's a lovely change. I think this is going to make things so much better. Now, granted, I don't know about the IV stuff because, like I said, IV training affects specific things like hidden power. And, if they actually decide to do something where they make it easier, then that'd be great. But, like, I'm crazy. Like, I want to see, like, what happens because I'm interested. Like, I don't think anybody realized, like, I'm really happy that they're doing this, that they're doing this big change. Like, I'm surprised they did. I'm really shocked that they actually made the EV farming and, you know, making it easier to get the nature you want with the mints. Now, granted, I will say this. I do not know how to get these mints. We'll figure it out when the game comes out and then see how accessible it is because, you know, knowing a lot of people, they're going to want a lot of those mints. They're probably going to want 99 of each, but, well, depending on how, we'll find out. When the game comes out, we'll find out because I have no idea how to get them. Another quality of life change was that I really agree with, and I think this should have been in every Pokemon game, really. Well, yeah, I think it should have been in every Pokemon game, but I think they just didn't think about it, is the whole thing of, you know, able to add Pokemon and take Pokemon out of your PC on the go. So you no longer have to be in a Pokemon Center. Now, granted, there are exceptions to this. There are exceptions. You cannot use it in a gym, and you can't use it on a mission. You can't, because obviously, yes, a gym battle is only supposed to be meant between the Pokemon you have on you, not like everything in your box, because you get what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of, you get that, it does make logical sense. And the mission thing makes sense as well. But I think overall, those changes, like, it's these little quality of life changes that I think Sword and Shield, like, some people might get annoyed that they think it's just becoming so much easier. It's taking the grind out of the game. You know, it's not fun, but nobody finds the grind fun, bro. Like, that's not fun, like having over 700 eggs in your box just to get the right Pokemon, just to get one Pokemon to get the right type, right nature, right moveset with the egg moves, get it with the right ability, and then heck, maybe get it shiny too, because that's also really hard. So, you know, like, I hope you understand that, like, breeding is a pain in the butt. Like, people take hours doing this stuff, bro. Like, it's crazy on how, like, people do this. Like, it takes hours. And don't get me started on, like, the EV stuff, like, because that would take people hours. Like, at least 2 hours, probably. But I think overall, these are great quality of life changes. I think these are healthy for the series. This is going to push the series in a healthy direction. Like, obviously, you know, another thing they added was, like, autosave or, like, built-in autosave, because a lot of people would usually forget to save their game, which it doesn't make sense because Pokemon kind of accustoms you to save your game, especially when you're looking for specific Pokemon and getting the right egg. And I think, to me, it's very important. I think it's kind of nice that they added autosave. I might not personally use it, but, you know, like, give or take, that's up to you. If you feel like you're clumsy and, you know, you're not going to, like, you're going to go through and, like, say, play the game for 5 hours and pass out and not save and your Switch dies or something, and you go back to the first city, like, yeah, it's probably a good idea that autosave exists. Now, granted, one thing a lot of people don't like is the EXP share. You know, it's just going to make the game too easy, that you're going to be always on level, and there's no point in, like, grinding before gym battles. Like, yeah, I think they should add the feature where you can turn it off to make it a little bit harder, but, you know, that's give or take. But what is another big thing? Oh, yes. Yeah, so one thing that has me interested specifically, and this is kind of something that, to me, is going to be fascinating to see what they do, is what comes next. And it's crazy because it's like, with how Pokemon is right now, there's a lot of Pokemon in the game. Well, not in this game, but you get what I mean. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon that were created, designed, and to me, it's crazy because it's like, this is the 8th generation of Pokemon. Pokemon has been around for a while. Like, the Pokemon company has been making these games that have brought people so many good memories, have brought together so many friends, and it's built a healthy community. And it's kind of crazy on how this all plays out because most people don't realize this. And yes, Pokemon is a global phenomenon. It's known all over the world. It makes a ton of money, like we've already mentioned. And it's mind-boggling a little bit because we don't really think about it. And it's just so crazy on how, from my experience, Pokemon has brought a lot of good memories. It has. It's helped me interact with a lot of my friends. It's helped me to build good relationships and have fun with people. It's an easy way to have, like, it's a nice game to play with people. And they're just really fun games to play. Like, they're so enjoyable. Like, when you get that Pokemon you wanted, or you didn't know this thing could evolve into this thing, or you find your first shiny. Like, it's so crazy. And it's 8 generations of Pokemon. And this is the first time, like I said, the first time Pokemon is going to be on a home console, a main series game, because we're not counting Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, because those are not main series games. This is the first time that a main series Pokemon game, a flagship Pokemon game, is going to be on a home console. And it's exciting. Like, I do hope that eventually what happens after this, that, you know, I do believe we're going to get a remake next, because that's usually how it goes. Where, you know, obviously when X and Y launched, we got Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, then we got Sun and Shield, then we got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and then we got this generation. I'm assuming we will get a remake. Gen 4 remake? It's the next one in line. I know a lot of people are hyped if we do that, because Gen 4 is a lot of people's favorite games, besides the one that probably had the best story, which is Black and White. And, you know, the 5th generation, I will say this, in terms of storytelling, the 5th generation had the best story. Are the Pokemon the best? No. No, they're not the best. We don't really like those Pokemon. But there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of good stuff. And I'm excited. I'm purchasing this game day one. I'm going to be playing it. If I'm able to figure out how to stream this game, I will stream it. I will stream my battles and let you guys just see how I do. I'm going to be really rusty. It's going to be funny. But I'm really excited. I'm excited to see what the Pokemon Company is able to do with this Pokemon game. I know a lot of people, like I said, I'm not saying that this game is perfect. I'm not saying that. This game has plenty of flaws, and flaws that make people might not want to buy it and just skip it and boycott. And that's okay. Like, you know, personally for me, it's something that I'm not happy about. And, you know, like I said, I kind of tell people this all the time, is like, not buying a game is a good way to protest, but you can even protest by, like, even just if you bought it, you can even protest while owning it, because, you know, just show your dissatisfaction. And I really pray and hope that the Pokemon Company listens and understand that what they did with Gen 8 and cutting out so many Pokemon was wrong. This is not a good idea. A lot of people's favorites got cut, and it's not a good look, especially when we're talking about the 8th generation of Pokemon. That this company has been making these games for a long time, like for a good amount, like I'd say a long time, but like a good amount of time. And to me, we definitely need to fix this. Like, they need to fix this, because this is not right. This is not fair, because a lot of people have a lot of good memories, and a lot of people love this series, and this is a well-cherished series. It's like Mario and Zelda. Like, these are series that people cherish very, very much, because a lot of people grew up with them. And, you know, we can only hope and see that they respond, and hope they listen to us and understand that, look, this isn't cool. Like, maybe, and who knows, they might eventually just do an update where they add everything back. That if it was really true that they needed more time to just put them in, then, you know, if they put an update out later down the line, or add something that allows you to bring them over, then a lot of people are going to be happy, because they're like, yes, we got what we wanted. But, you know, I'd say, to me, keep voicing your outroar about that stuff, because we want all the Pokemon in the game. We cannot have the first main series Pokemon game not have every Pokemon in it. That's not right. We need every Pokemon in this game, because not only is it going to make competitive so much more fun, it's not going to feel limited, and people are going to have a great time. And like I said, the whole point is that this is a game that is built on the foundation of, you know, people having fun, exploring, catching, and, you know, like the tagline says, catch them all. And I really hope you guys, if you guys are Pokemon fans, you know, consider it. If you have a Switch, you know, or if you don't and you're considering buying a Switch, now's the best time to buy it. I would say, depending on what you use it for, get a Switch Lite or Switch Pro, or, well, a normal Switch, but we'll talk about that one day. I know we're going to do an episode over the Switch, because, yeah, the Nintendo Switch is that's a really, really nice topic to talk about. But anyways, I thank you guys so much. I love you guys so much. You guys are incredible. And this is where I'm going to talk for a bit, like just talk for a bit off topic. I want to thank you guys so much. You guys have been very gracious to me. Like I said, 68 episodes, and, you know, we're almost pushing 100, and it's incredible. Now, granted, do I think we'll hit 100 by the time we get to the 1 year anniversary? Maybe not. We've slowed down a bit. Maybe. I know right now we're sitting over 655 total downloads for the show. Obviously, yes, downloads are slowing down, but I'm great. Like, I'm happy about that. Like, I'm happy that I still have people downloading and still listening. And to me, it's just incredible that you guys have continued to come back and listen. You guys have continued to support me. And even in my personal life, that you guys constantly reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? And it really means a lot to me that you guys continue to do that. And there's something I want to talk about before I let you guys go, is that an idea that I had. And I'll post this on the Instagram page too, and leave it to a poll. That I'm considering the idea of taking the Real Talk episodes, and maybe turn it into its own little show. That, maybe it's time that we have like where I'm allowed to, I wouldn't say cut loose, but just be more open and talk about more serious topics that are not related to video games, technology, or business. That it's more focused on like giving people advice and like being helpful, sharing my experience with and what I've experienced with other people, and maybe it might be helpful. And I think, to me, that I like the idea. Like, and I'll leave it to you guys to see what you guys think. If you guys think that you guys want to hear it, or if you guys want that to happen. And granted, the whole logistics behind it, like I said, I don't really know a lot of the logistics behind doing this. Like, I'm just mainly putting the idea out there and see what you guys think. But I would really love your guys' support and, feedback. Like, what do you guys think? Is this a smart move, or just keep it to like, keep it on the main show and, like one-off occurrences, like they happen at least on a blue moon, because Real Talks are not, like I said, they're not really consistent. They're like on a whim when I feel like it's necessary to do one. And who knows, maybe doing it on its own little show make it a little bit more enticing, because then you have, you get to pick and choose what you want to listen to. But again, that's a whole different thing. But like I said, thank you guys so much for your love and support. I really appreciate it. Like, you guys mean the world to me, and you guys continue to keep coming back and keep listening, keep sharing the episodes. It really means a lot to me. And I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, because it was a more fun conversation. It was more laid back. I didn't really have like a script to follow or, really guidelines. It was mainly just, talking about what has me excited for this next game, because I love Pokemon. I really do. I love the Pokemon games. They've always brought good memories, and they're always fun and enjoyable to me. And I can't wait to enjoy this on home console on my Switch. So thank you guys so much for your time. I love you guys to death. You guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend. You guys please be safe. Don't do anything dumb. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.